Hey there folks, my name is Hayden and I am your board game buddy, at least I'd like to be. Let's go ahead and take a look at how to play Sushi Go. We're going to look at this game. If you stay towards the end, I'm going to give you just a few tips. Pretty simple game, so just a few tips on how to maybe get a little better score. And if you do like this content or want to support me, please do like and subscribe. Helps out a bunch. Thanks a bunch. Let's dive on into it. Alright folks, so Sushi Go is a card game. I laid out some of the cards here to go ahead and just explain what they all do. You're trying to get as many points as possible, and so you can look at the back of the rule book, really quick rule book, but you can look at the back just as a quick reference, and a reference that helps even let you know how many cards you're giving to each player depending on how many players you're playing with. And you are playing 3 rounds. So if we're playing a 2-player game, each player is going to get 10 cards. And so you're going to pick one of the cards and then pass the rest of your hand. And so I'll show you that in a second. But let's go ahead and walk through all these cards and how you score points. So the wasabi here, the next nigiri, I apologize if I'm pronouncing these things incorrectly. But the wasabi, the next nigiri that you play, you can see these 3 right here, is going to be 3 times as many points. So if I play this turn, and then next turn I play this one, this is the squid nigiri, then that would be worth 9 points instead of 3. So I just put it on top of that to make it a little more obvious what's going on right there. So that is how that would go right there. And then beyond that, all of these nigiri right here, these 3 cards are just worth the points that are on them. So 1, 2, and 3 are your options, but you can combine it with this to multiply. And it doesn't have to be directly after. You don't have to play these cards directly after, like on the very next turn, to get these points. You could play this the first turn of the game, and then play this the last turn of the game, and as long as it's the next one that you're playing, you're going to get those points. The Sashimi. These, you're going to get points, but you only get points if you have 3 of them. So for every set of 3, you can have multiple sets of 3, but for every set of 3, you're going to get 10 points. And that's listed right on the bottom there. Should be fairly easy to remember that, just listed right there. So hopefully that helps you out with that one. The dumplings, you can see this little number system on the bottom. So depending on how many you have at the end of the round, you're going to get points. Sorry, it's not really focusing so well on that. There we go, that's a little bit better. So if we have 1 of these, it's only worth 1 point. If we have 2, it's worth 3, 3 is worth 6, 4 is worth 10, and 5 is worth 15. So that's the most points you can get from these, is if you have 5 of these cards you collected through the round, you get 15 points. The tempura right here, if you have 2 of these at the end, those are worth 5 points. Again, you can have multiple pairs, and so if I had 4 of them, 2 pairs, that would be worth 5 points each. These right here are kind of interesting. They're a little bit different. So these rolls right here, the maki rolls, these, whoever has the most out of everyone on the table is going to get 6 points. And so you can see this one has 3 up here. So you're counting that as 3. It's not the cards, it's the number of rolls up here. So I've got 3 right here. So if I have 3, and then someone else has both of these 2 cards, but they equal 3 as well, we would tie and we would both get 6 points. And then the second most is going to get 3 points. But there are 1, 2, and 3 of those cards. So 3 is the most you can get, and 1 is the least, obviously, for the maki rolls. The pudding, let's go ahead and talk about this, and then we'll talk about the chopsticks in a second. But the pudding, when you put that down, this is at the very, very end of the game. So this is one card that you're going to leave until the very end of the game. At the end of each round, you're going to collect everything and put them together, except for the pudding. And so if this is how I ended at the end of the round, I would go ahead and score it up and then push everything aside, but the pudding is going to stay. Whoever has the most pudding at the very end of the game is going to get 6 points, and whoever has the least is going to get negative 6 points. So do keep an eye on that throughout the game. And then the chopsticks, this is one of the specialty cards you've got right here. So I could play this out in front of me, and then the next hand that I get, I could put this into my hand and put 2 cards out from that hand. So that is how that works. And now that we've got all of those cards, let's go ahead and just brush them aside. All right, so we've got 10 cards right here. I have put them out. This is not what you're going to do during the game, but just so that you can see them. We would have all of these cards in our hand, and then our opponent would have 10 cards in their hand. So this is our opponent's hand right here. What you're going to do is you're going to take one of these cards and just put it face down. So let's say we're looking at our cards and we're like, oh, you know, it looks like there's a lot of these. Let's go ahead and try and go for the most of these. So we're going to put this one face down in front of us, and our opponent would put one face down in front of them. Then we're going to take all of these cards, and we are going to pass them to our opponent. So we give them this one, and we take this one from them. So then you're going to flip yours face up. They're going to flip theirs face up. And then we get to look at their hand, and then we get to decide what we want. So it looks like there's a lot of tempura here, and I remember we had one over there. So let's go ahead and play one of those face down, and then they're going to take and play a card themselves. And then we are going to pass that back to them. They're going to pass this back to us. So we flip that up from last round, and then we could keep a tempura. That's going to give us some points. So we're going to keep that. They've got a card, and then we're going to switch these. So hopefully this is making sense as we're switching things back and forth. You're going to play one card. So you're going to look at all of the cards you have in your hand. You're going to pick one and put it face down. So you're going to pick one card, put it face down, and then you're going to pass your hand. So if in a two-player game, you're just going back and forth. If you're playing with 3, 4, 5, you're going to put one down and then just pass clockwise. So you're not going to necessarily see the same cards as much. So you don't know what you're going to be getting from the next person. And that is how the game works. You're going to play 3 rounds. So you're just going to count up your score at the end of each round and keep a cumulative total over 3 rounds. The only thing to keep in mind that's different is the pudding. And so the pudding is scored just at the very, very end at the game. And then whoever has the most gets 6 points. Whoever has the least gets -6. And that is the total score of the game. You're going to take all the cards after each round, shuffle them back up, and then deal the proper amount depending on how many you're playing with. But that is a quick overview of how to play Sushi Go. Really nice game. If you enjoy this, there is a Sushi Go party that I've actually got right there, so you can check that out. It's the same thing, just with more of it. So this is a really powerful card. This is the Wasabi. It makes the next card 3 times whatever it is. And so if you're able to match up the Wasabi with the Squid Nigiri, this is one of the best combos in the game. That equals 3 points per card. And if you look at just the actual statistics of what you get the most points for, getting 3 points per card, or excuse me, more than 3 points per card, is really, really good. And so if you're able to do that, that's really, really helpful. Another thing to keep an eye on is just some of these other combinations that you can get. So the shashamene is another one that I really like. I like to go for quite a bit. Chopsticks can be really helpful. Don't neglect the pudding. It's not necessarily that you have to be first, but you don't want to be last. You don't want to have to take the -6 points. That can really hurt you. Depending on the round, the maki roll is worth going for. Sometimes I don't even look at them because everyone kind of fights over them, and depending on how many people you're playing with, sometimes I like to just stay out of that battle. But those are the main things that I'm kind of looking for as I'm playing the game. Obviously, if you're able to get a bunch of dumplings, that can really add up quite a bit. But those are the main things that I'm looking for when I am playing this game. That's pretty much all the cards out there anyway. I think that's everything. But I would say kind of my strongest thing that I'm looking for most is the wasabi combination with the squid nigiri if you can. If you have to settle for whatever's worth 2 points, that's still great, still worthwhile. Then shashamene is another thing really to keep track of. And then dumplings and maki rolls and tempura are kind of second. And then pudding, just don't be last. Those are some quick tips. I don't know if that helps out at all, but maybe it'll help you get a little better score for this game and beat the people you're playing with. So I hope that helps. Thanks.